In this lecture, we're going to review how you can create your Wix mobile website. Currently, we've been creating your website that's specifically for laptops and desktops and tablets. But it is important that you also have a version for phones, because on phones, typically websites show a little bit differently because the phone screen is a lot smaller than a laptop, desktop, or a tablet screen. Therefore, you want to make sure there is a website specifically for what users will see when they're using their mobile device. I typically like to wait until I'm done with my website before I work on the mobile website, because therefore I can look at everything as it's in place, and then I can rearrange it accordingly to where it will look good on a mobile device. Let's begin. The first thing that I'm going to do is click right here at the top on Switch Editor Views. There's a mobile phone icon. I'll click directly on it. Then I can switch between the desktop view and the mobile view. There is a check here that says make your site mobile friendly. Now, if you have it unselected, what's going to happen is when a user goes to your website on their mobile phone, they're only going to see the desktop view. Now, that could be a good thing or a bad thing. If you have a landing page to where an individual doesn't have to do a lot of navigating and moving around, it might be okay, but you do have to keep in mind that if your desktop version of your website is on a mobile phone, a user will have to zoom in to see wording and other types of content because, again, it's not sized correctly for a mobile phone. So if you do want to make your website mobile friendly and essentially have a mobile website, you'll want to make sure this is selected, and then you'll click directly here on Edit Mobile View. Once you click on that, you can see your website in the mobile view. Now notice that things don't show the exact same way in the laptop version as they do in the mobile version. This is why it's important that you come here and you make sure that you're moving items around to where it fits best. So the first thing you might want to note is that you can transition from page to page. You can click right here on Pages, and then you can navigate from page to page to then edit the content for mobile phones. When you do want to go ahead and have the page that you want to work on, you click outside of the pages, and then you can see your content right here. There's an option to change the background for mobile phones because some backgrounds just don't show well. They're a little bit too zoomed in and you can't see the quality of it, so you can click on background and of course change the background as needed. You can also click on mobile right here, which gives you the ability to see mobile view. And of course, you can transition between desktop and mobile, which is what I just did. You can add a back to top button, which is a button that goes at the bottom of your website. And then when they click on it, they get back to the top. And then there's a mobile action bar, which is pretty nice because it stays at the bottom of a mobile website the entire time. And an individual can use the menu. They can click on a phone number to call. There's the option for email, and then there's also the option for an address, and then social networks. And then there are hidden elements. So not all elements will look good on a mobile phone. Some of them just will never show correctly because of the size. So if you ever want to hide something, let's say right here for Good About Us, you can click on it, and then you can click on Hide Element to hide it. Then you see a list of hidden elements for each page. And then to bring, let's say, this About Us button back, I'd click on the eye, and then it would show again. So of course you can transition between hiding elements and then bringing them back so they're visible. So there's one important thing to remember when you're in the mobile editor, and that is you can't add in any new content, you can only resize it. So let's say if you needed to add more text or a button or add another picture, you cannot do that. You have to do it inside of the desktop view. And then when you go to the mobile view, you'll see that live right here in the mobile section, and you can resize it accordingly. So just keep in mind, the editor section for mobile is just for resizing to where it looks good for phones. But when you want to get the full view of being able to edit your website, you need to keep your Wix platform inside of the desktop view so you can maintain the editor on that side. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and edit the website that we have in the mobile view. So I can go ahead and pretty much move anything around. It's drag and drop. I can click here to scale down with the letters and make it smaller or bigger. I can do the same thing with every type of text. I can decrease it, I can increase it, and then when there's a photo, I can click on it and I can move it in to make it smaller, I can move it out to make it bigger, but ultimately I can move things around. And then once I'm happy with, let's say, a particular page, I can transition to another page. Now, quite similar to the desktop view, there is a header and there is a footer. So it is very important that you get your header in the position that you need it to be in, because the header is going to show at the top on all pages, and the same thing is applicable to the bottom with the footer. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the header to where it looks good. I'm going to put the same content in the header as I have it right now. I have the Call Now button at the top. I have my About Us as well, which is great. I then have my social bar with my social networks. I have my cart as well, which is great. And then last but not least, I want to get my logo inside of the header, and I also want to get my menu in the header as well, because the menu needs to be in the header so an individual can go from page to page. Now, ultimately, you want to make sure that things are visible and they're shown correctly, with the thought of that a user will be using a phone. So you want to resize it to where it's not too overwhelming, but it's just enough. So it will require that you resize things to where it looks best. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and resize that logo a little bit more. There we go. Now I'm pretty much happy with the way the header looks. So the next thing that I'm going to edit is the mobile menu button right here. So the first thing I can do is I can change the design of it by clicking on Custom Design, and I can change two things: what shows when the menu is open and what shows when the menu is closed. When it's closed, it looks like this. So let's say I want to change the background. I can make it white, and then the icon is gray, but I of course can change that as well. I'll make it black. I can also change the border, the corners, and as well spacing is needed. The next thing is what shows when the menu is open. This is once someone clicks on it. I'll click Open. And what opens is the list of everything you have on your menu. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first change the icon. I'll change the X from gray to black. Then I can also change the button background. So let's say I want the button to be yellow. I can then also change the menu background. Right now it's white, but I might want it to be, let's say, gray. Then I can go right here to text and I can change what shows. So right now, the font that's shown is as it is. I can scroll down here to change the font, but I'm going to change the color of the lettering. So I'm going to go ahead and make it white. And then for the selected page, which is the page I'm on, I'll make that yellow. So then this is what's shown when an individual has the menu open. This is what they see when it's closed. And then there you have it. The header is set and everything is good to go in this section. The next thing that we'll do is we'll edit the footer. This just requires a little bit of resizing. So I'm going to go ahead and stretch out my text there. I can then also click on Settings, and I can change the alignment as needed. And I can also change the color if I choose to. And then there I have it. I'm happy with my social bar. I'm happy with my text. Scrolling back up, I can then start making changes to the actual page. Now what I'm doing now is a lot of resizing. So I just grab onto an element and there's always an arrow that allows me to bring it down or up. So what I'm doing now is I'm just adjusting the spacing to where it shows best. So as you can see, there's the header. There's the little slider that we have currently as it's shown on the desktop version. But what I might want to do is edit the size of the text to make it to where it's a little bit smaller because it is very large. And then as you can see, I'm just resizing everything to where it looks good. So I'm just moving the text around. And then once I'm done, I can take a look at everything. I can then click on different sections and essentially do the same thing. I can decrease the size. I can increase the size. I can also click on Settings, change the alignment, and pretty much make any changes that I need to where it looks good. Scrolling down a bit more, let's say this is too close here. I can scroll it down. And notice as I'm using this arrow here to move down, everything else is moving down with it. That's good because as I'm moving something down, like the service box, I don't want to move it down and then it overlaps. I want to move everything together to give myself more space. So I want to grab this arrow here, so where I'm moving everything. Okay? Then let's say I want to click on the Learn More box. I can use the same arrow and everything kind of moves back up. There we go. And then I can do the same thing here for Service 2 and Service 3, essentially spacing everything out and bringing it back up accordingly. And as you can see here, I'm making sure that everything is set correctly to where I'm giving myself a little bit of space. And then of course I'm also checking to make sure that everything shows well as well. And then I have my home page complete with my header, with my footer, and then the edited content in between. The same thing that I just did on the home page, I can do for all of my other pages as well to make sure that everything shows correctly on the mobile website. Now, the one thing that you might note is that when you do have an application, such as with booking or the shopping cart, you sometimes want to go through the process of clicking through to see ultimately how everything looks. Let me go to the shop page to show you what I mean. So right now, on the shop page, this is what an individual sees. And I'll click on preview so you can see how it will appear. So let's say someone wants to buy the backpack and they're on their mobile phone. They'll click backpack, and as you can see, it's going to the different pages, and you just want to double check and make sure that as you're doing these different functions, it shows great. I'll add to cart. It's added at the top. And then as you can see, this is essentially what a user is going to see. What I'm just doing is I'm testing the process on mobile to make sure that everything is shown correctly, which it is. Then a user can click on checkout and go from there. So everything looks great. I can also cross-check for booking as well. I'll just go to preview and I can test everything out to make sure that it's showing properly. And if it is, then I'm good to go and I can continue editing everything else. It is important to keep in mind that when you are working on your desktop version of your website, you always want to come over here to the mobile view to make sure that things also look good. Because as you're adding in new content, it does not automatically show correctly on mobile phones. Notice how I had to readjust what was in the header as well as in the footer, as well as what was on the individual pages. So definitely as you're done creating what you need to in the desktop version, you go to mobile and you make sure that it looks good as well. When you're done in the mobile website, you can click on save to save your draft. You can click on preview to preview how your site looks, and you can click on publish so the website goes live.